everybody. Today's goal is to finish the book. Okay, everybody? That's what we're trying to do today. We were currently on page 450. Let's try and get to page 500. Just like 1 hour's time, okay? 1 hour. That's how long this book would. Let's see what chapter. Found chapter. Chapter 51. Jason. So much for tender farewell. The last Jason saw of his dad, Jesus, was 100 feet tall, holding the Argo-2 by its prow. He boomed, "Hold on!" Then he tossed the ship up and spiked it overhand like a volleyball. If Jason had been strapped to the mast with one of Leo's 20-point safety harness, he would have disintegrated. As it was, his stomach tried to stay behind in grease, and all the air was sucked out of his lungs. The sky turned black. The ship rattled and creaked. The deck cracked like thin ice under Jason's legs, and with a sonic boom, the Argo-2 hurtled out of the clouds. "Jason!" Leo shouted. "Hurry!" His fingers felt like melted plastic, but Jason managed to undo the straps. Leo was lashed to the control side, desperately trying to right the ship as they spiraled downward in free fall. The sails were on fire. Vestas creaked in alarm. A catapult peeled away and lifted into the air. Centrifugal force sent the shields flying off the railing like metal frisbees. Wider cracks opened in the deck as Jason staggered towards the hold, using the winds to keep himself anchored. If he couldn't make it to the others, then the hatch burst open. Frank and Hazel stumbled through, putting on the guide rope they'd attached to the mast. Piper, Annabeth, and Percy followed, all of them looking disoriented. "Go!" Leo yelled. "Go, go, go!" For once, Leo's tone was "Go!" Leo said, "Go, go, go!" For once, Leo's tone was deadly serious. They talked through the evacuation plan, but that slap across the world had just made Jason's mind sluggish. Judging from the others' expressions, they weren't in much better shape. Before the table saved them, he clattered across the decks with his holographic head, blowing out, "Let's go! Move! Move it! Cut that out!" Then his table split into helicopter blades, and Bufford buzzed away. Frank changed form. Instead of a dazed demigod, he was now a dazed grey dragon. Wow. Hazel climbed onto his neck. Frank grabbed Percy and Annabeth in his front claws, then spread his wings and soared away. Jason held Piper by the waist ready to fly, but he made the mistake of glancing down. His view was spinning. Kaleidoscope of sky. Earth, sky, 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 Earth, sky. The ground was getting awfully close. "Leo, you won't make it!" Jason shouted. "Come with us! No, come with us! No, get out of here! Leo!" Piper tried. "Please! Save your chance, big pipes! I told you, I've got a plan! Now shoot!" Jason took a last look at the splintering ship. The Argo-2 had been their home for so long. Now they were abandoning it for good, and leaving Leo behind. Jason took a last look at Jason harnessed the wings, and he and Piper shot into the sky. The ground wasn't less chaotic. As they plummeted, Jason saw a vast army of monsters spread across the hills: Cyanophalia, two-headed men, wild centaurs, augurs, and others he couldn't even name, surrounding two tiny islands of demigods. At the crest of Camp Half-Blood Hill, gathered at the feet of the Parthenos, was the main force of Camp Half-Blood, along with the 1st and 5th cohorts railed along the golden eagle of the Legion. The other 3 Roman cohorts were in a defensive formation, several hundred yards away, and seemed to be taking the brunt of the attack. "Giant eagles!" circled Jason. screeching urgently as if looking for orders. Frank, the grey dragon, flew along the side with his passengers. Hazel! Jason yelled. Those 3 cohorts are in trouble. If they don't merge with the rest of the demigods. On it, Hazel said. Go, Frank! Dragon Frank veered to the left with Annabeth in one claw yelling, Let's get him! And Percy and the other claw screaming, I hate flying! Percy and Jason veered right towards the summit of Half-Blood Hill. Jason's heart lifted when he saw Niko the Anglo on the front lines with the Greeks slashing his way through a crowd of 2-headed men. A few feet away, Raina sat astride a new Pegasus, her sword drawn. She shouted orders at the legion, and the Romans obeyed without questions, as if she'd never been away. Jason didn't see Octavian anywhere. Good! Neither did he see a colossal earth goddess laying waist to the ground. Very good. Perhaps Great Gaia has risen. Taken one look at the modern world and decided to go back to sleep. Jason wished they could be that lucky, but he doubted it. He and Piper landed on the hill, their swords drawn, and a cheer went up from the Greeks and Romans. About the Romans. About time! Raina called. Glad you could join us! With a start, Jason realized she was addressing Piper, not him. Piper grinned. We have some giants to kill! Excellent! Raina returned a smile. Help yourself to some barbarians! Why, thank you! The 2 girls launched into battle side by side. Niko nodded to Jason as if they'd just sent each other on Earth 5 minutes ago. They went back to turning 2-headed men into no-headed corpses. Good timing! Where's the ship? Jason pointed. The Argo 2 streaked across the sky in a ball of fire, shedding burning chunks of mast, hull, and armament. Jason didn't see how even fireproof Leo could survive in that inferno, but he had to hope. Gods, Niko said. Is everyone okay? Leo, Jason's voice broke. He said he had a plan. The comet disappeared behind the western hills. Jason waited with dread for the sound of an explosion, but he heard nothing over the roar of the battle. Niko met his eyes. He'll be fine. Sure? But just in case for Leo. For Leo. But just in case. For Leo! But just in... For Leo! Jason agreed. They charged into the fight. Jason's anger gave him renewed strength. With the Greeks and the Romans slowly pushed back the enemies. Wild centaurs toppled wolf-headed men. Howl as they were cut to ashes. More monsters kept appearing. Carpoid grain spirits swirling out of the grass. Gryphons dividing from the sky. Lumpy clay humanoids that made Jason think of evil Play-Doh men. They're ghosts with earthen shells, Niko warned. Don't let them hit you. Obviously, Gaia had some surprises in reserve. At one point, Will Solis, the leader of Apollo, ran up to Niko and said something in his ear. Over-yelling and clashing of blades, Jason couldn't hear the words. Jason, I have to go, Niko said. Jason didn't really understand, but he nodded, and Will and Niko dashed off into the fray. A moment later, a squad of Hermes campers gathered around Jason for no apparent reason. Connor Stoll grinned. What's up, Grace? I'm good, Jason said. You? Connor dodged an auger club and stabbed a grain spirit which exploded in a cloud of wheat. Yeah, can't complain. Nice day for it. Raina yelled, Écule flammas! And a wave of flaming arrows arced over the legion's shield wall, destroying a platoon of augurs. The Roman ranks moved forward, impaling centaurs and trampling wounded augurs under their bronze-tipped boots. Somewhere downhill, Jason heard Frank Zan yell in Latin, Repeller equitis! A massive herd of centaurs parted in panic as the leaders of the 3 cohorts ploughed through in perfect formation, their spears bright with monster blood. Frank marched before them, on the left riding Arian. Hazel beamed with pride. "Hey, Praetor Zang!" Raina called. "Hey, Praetor Ramirez Arellano!" Frank said, "Let's do this, Legion! Close ranks!" A cheer went up among the Romans as the 5 cohorts melded in one massive killing machine. Frank pointed his sword, and from the golden eagle standard, tendrils of lightning swept across the enemy, turning several hundred monsters to toast. "Legion, soon Neo format!" Rainer yelled. "Advance!" Another cheer on Jason's side as Percy and Annabeth reunited with the forces of Camp Half-Blood. "Greeks!" Percy yelled. "Let some fight stuff!" They yelled like banshees and charged. Jason grinned. He loved the Greeks. They had no organization whatsoever, but they made up for it with enthusiasm. Jason was feeling good about the battle, except for 2 big questions. Where was Leo and where was Gaia? Unfortunately, he got the second answer. Under his feet, the earth rippled as if Camp Half-Blood Hill had become a giant water mattress. Demigods fell, augurs slipped, centaurs charged face first into the grass. "Awake!" a voice boomed all around them. 100 yards away, at the crest of the next hill, the grass and soil swirled up like the point of a massive drill. The column of earth thickened in a 20-foot-tall figure of a woman, her dress woven from blades of grass, her skin as white as quartz, her hair brown and tangled like tree roots. "Little fools!" Gaia, the Earth Mother, opened her pure green eyes. "The paltry magic of your statue cannot contain me." As she said it, Jason realized why Gaia hadn't appeared until now. The Ascended Partheners had been protected at demigods, holding back the wrath of the earth. But even Ascenders could only last so long against a primordial goddess. Fear as palpable as a cold front washed over the demigod army. "Stand fast!" Piper shouted, her chant speak clear and loud. Greeks and Romans, we can fight her together!" Gaia laughed. She spread her arms and the earth bent towards her, trees tilting, bedrock groaning, soil rippling in waves. Jason rose on the wind. All around him, monsters and demigods alike started to sink into the ground. One of Octavia's onagers capsized and disappeared into the side of the hill. The whole earth is my body," Gaia boomed. "How would you fight the goddess of boom?" In a flash of bronze, Gaia was swept off the hillside, snarled in the claws of a 50-ton metal dragon. Festus, reborn, rose into the sky on gleaming wings, spewing fire from his more triumphantly as he ascended. The rider on his back grew smaller and more difficult to discern, but Leo's grin was unmistakable. "Pipes! Jason!" he shouted. "You coming? The fight is up here!" It's getting interesting. As for now, we're on chapter 52. So, chapter 52, Jason. As soon as Gaia achieved liftoff, the ground solidified. Demigods stopped sinking, though many were still buried up to their waists. Sadly, the monsters seemed to be digging themselves out more quickly. They charged the Greek and Roman ranks, taking advantage of the demigods, disorganized. Jason put his arms around Piper's waist. He was about to take off when Percy yelled, "Wait! Frank can fly the rest of us up there. We can all..." No, man, Jason said. "They need you here. There's still an army to defeat, besides the prophecy." "He's right," Frank gripped Percy's arm. "You have to let them do this, Percy. It's like Annabeth's quest in Rome, or Hazel at the doors of death. This part can only be them." Percy obviously didn't like it. Just that moment, A flood of monsters swept over the Greek forces. Anne Beth called to him, "Hey, problem over here!" Percy ran to join her. Frank and Hazel turned to Jason. They raised their arms in the Roman salute. They ran off to regroup the legion. Jason and Piper spiraled upward on the wind. "I've got the cure," Piper murmured like a child. It'll be fine. I've got the cure." Jason realized she'd lost her sword somehow during the battle, but he doubted it would matter. Against Gaia, a sword would do no good. This was about storm and fire, and a third power, Piper's charm speak, which would hold them together. Last winter, Piper had slowed the power of Gaia at the Wolf House, helping to free Hera from the cage of Earth. Now she would have an even bigger job. As they ascended, Jason gathered the wind and clouds around him. The sky responded with frightening speed. Soon they were in the eye of a maelstrom. Lightning burned his eyes. Thunder made his teeth vibrate. Directly above them, Festus grappled with the earth. Goddess Gaia kept disintegrating, trying to trickle back to the ground, but the wind kept her aloft. Festus sprayed her with flames, which seemed to force her into solid form. Meanwhile, from Festus's back, Leo blasted the goddess with the flames of his own and hurled into insults. "Potty sludge, dirt face! This is for my mother, Esperanza Voldex! This is for my mother, Esperanza Voldex!" His whole body was wreathed in fire. Rain hung in the stormy air, but it only sizzled and steamed around him. Jason zoomed towards them. Gaia turned into loose white sand, but Jason summoned a squadron of Venti who turned around her, constraining her in a cocoon of wind. Jason fought back. When she wasn't disintegrating, she lashed out with shrapnel blasts of stone, and swords that Jason barely deflected. Stoking the storm, containing Gaia, keeping himself and Piper aloft. Jason had never done anything so difficult. He felt like he was covered in lead weights, trying to swim with only his legs while holding a cart over his head. But he had to keep Gaia off the ground. That was the secret Kime had hinted at when they spoke at the bottom of the sea. Long ago, Uranus the Sky God had been stripped down to the earth by Gaia and the Titans. They'd held him under the ground so he couldn't escape, and with his powers weakened from being so far from his home territory, they'd been able to cut him apart. Now Jason, Leo, and Piper had to reserve the scenario. They had to keep Gaia away from her source of power, the earth, and weakened her until she could be defeated. Together they rose. Festus creaked and groaned with the effort, but he continued to gain altitude. Jason still didn't understand how Leo managed to remake the dragon. Then he recalled all the hours Leo had spent working inside the hole over the last few weeks. Leo must have been planning this all along and building a new body for Festus within the framework of the ship. He must have known in his gut that the Argo 2 would eventually fall apart. A ship turned into a dragon. Jason supposed it was no more amazing than a dragon turning into a suitcase back in Quebec. However it happened, Jason was elated to see their old friend in action once more. "You cannot defeat me!" Gaia crumbled to sand, only to get blasted by more flames. Her body melted into a lump of glass, shattered and reformed again as a human. "I am eternal!" "Eternal annoying!" Leo yelled, and he urged Festus higher. Jason and Piper rose with them. "Get me closer," Piper urged. "I need to be next to her." "Piper, the flames and the shrapnel? I know." Jason moved in until they were right next to Gaia. The wind encased the goddess, keeping her solid. It was all Jason could do to contain her blasts of sand and soil. Her eyes were solid green, like all nature had been condensed into a few spoonfuls of organic matter. Her face was contorted Not getting matter. Foolish children! Her face contorted with miniature earthquakes and mudslides. You are so wary, Piper told the goddess, voice radiating kindness and sympathy. Aeons of pain and disappointment weigh on you. Silence! The force of Gaia's anger was so great that Jason momentarily lost control of the wind. He would have dropped into free fall when Festus caught him and Piper in his other huge claw. Amazingly, Piper kept her focus. Millennia of sorrow, she told Gaia. Your husband Olympus was abusive. Your grandchildren, the gods, overthrew your beloved children, the Titans, your other children, the Cyclopses, and the 100-handed ones were thrown into Tartarus. You are so tired of that heartache. Lies! Gaia crumbled into a tornado of soil and grass, but her essence seemed to turn more sluggishly. If they gained any more altitude, the air would become too thin to breathe. Jason would be weak to control it. Piper's talk of exhaustion affected him too, sapping his strength, making his body feel heavy. What do you want? Piper continued. More than victory, more than revenge, you want rest. You are so weary and so incomprehensibly tired of ungrateful mortals and immortals. You do not speak for me. You cannot. You want one thing, Piper said soothingly. Voice resonated through Jason's bones. One word. You want permission to close your eyes and forget your trouble. You want sleep. Gaia solidified into human form. Her head lowered, her eyes closed as she went limp in Festus's claw. Unfortunately, Jason started to black out too. The wind was dying. The storm dissipated. Dark spots danced in his eyes. Leo! Piper gasped for breath. We only have a few seconds. My chance won't. I know. Leo looked like he was made of fire. Flames rippled beneath his skin, illuminating his skull. Festus steamed and glowed, his claws burning through Jason's shirt. I can't contain the fire much longer. I'll vaporize her, don't worry. But you guys need to fire. You guys need to leave. No, Jason said. We have to stay with you. Piper's got the cure. Leo, you can't. Hey! Leo grinned, which was unnerving, in the flames. His teeth like molten silver ingots. I told you I had a plan. When are you guys going to trust me? And by the way, I love you guys. Festus's claw opened, and Jason and Piper fell. Jason had no strength to stop it. He yelled unto Piper as she quietly his name, and they plummeted earthwards. Festus become an indistinct ball of fire in the sky, a second sun growing smaller and hotter. Then in the corner of Jason's eyes, a blaming comet streaked upward from the ground, with a high-pitched, almost human scream. Just before Jason blacked out, the comet intercepted the ball of fire above them. The explosion turned the entire sky gold. Chapter 58. Chapter 58, Niko. Niko had witnessed many forms of death. He didn't think anything could surprise him anymore. He was wrong. In the middle of the battle, Will Solis ran up to him and said one word in his ear. Octavian! That got Niko's full attention. He hesitated when he had the chance to kill Octavian, but there was no way Niko would let that scumbag or escape justice. Where? Come on, Will said. Hurry! Niko turned to Jason, who was fighting next to him. Jason, I have to go. Then he plunged into the chaos, following Will. This is before Jason got falling from the sky, okay? This is just before the chapter we started it. That we're going back, but this is what Niko was doing, not Jason. Then he plunged into the chaos, following Will. They passed Tyson and his Cyclopses, who were bellowing, "Bad dog! Bad dog!" as they bashed the heads of the Cynocephalia, Grover Underwood and a team of satyrs danced around with their panpipes, playing harmonies so dissonant that the earth and shelled ghost cracked apart. Travis Stoll ran past, arguing with his brother. "What do you mean we set the landmines on the wrong hill?" Niko and Will were halfway down the hill when the ground trembled under their feet. Like everyone else, Monster and Debbie were alike. They froze in horror and watched as the whirling column of earth erupted from the top of the next hill, and Gaia appeared in all her glory. Then something large and bronze swooped out of the sky. Boom! Festus the bronze dragon snatched up the Earth Mother and soared away with her. "What? How?" Niko stammered. "I don't know," Will said, "but I doubt there's much we can do about that. We have other problems." Will sprinted towards the nearest major. As they got closer, Niko spotted Octavian, furiously readjusting the machine's target levers. The throwing arm was already primed with a full payload of Imperial gold and explosives. The ogre rushed about, tripping over gears and ankle spikes, fumbling with the ropes. Ever so often, he glanced up at the fastest dragon. "Octavian!" Niko yelled. The ogre spun and backed up against a huge sphere of ammunition. His fine purple robes snagged up on the trigger rope. But Octavian didn't notice. Fumes from the payload curled about him as if drawn to the Imperial gold jewelry. Round his arms and neck, the golden wreath in his hair. "Oh, I see." Octavian's laughter was brittle and quite insane. "Trying to steal my glory, hey? No, son of Pluto. I am the savior of warmth. I was promised." Will raised his hand in a placating gesture. "Octavian, get away from the unaged. That isn't safe." "Of course it's not. I will get down with this machine." Out of the corner of his eye, Niko scored Jason Grace rocket into the sky with Piper in his arms, flying straight towards Festus. Around the sun of Jupiter, storm clouds gathered, swirling into a hurricane. Thunder boomed. "You see?" Octavian cried. The gold on his body was definitely smoking now, attracting him to the catapult's payload, the iron to the giant magnet. "The gods approve of my action." "Jason is making out storm," Niko said. "If you fire the onager, you'll kill him and Piper." "And good," Octavian yelled. "They're traitors, all traitors. Listen to me." Will tried again. "This is not what Apollo would want. Besides, your robes are... You know nothing, Grasus." Octavian wrapped his hand around the release level. "I must act before I get any higher. Only an agent can such as this can make the shot. I will single-handed." "Centurion," said a voice behind him. From the back of the siege engine, Mitchell K.Howe appeared. He had a large red knot on his forehead, where Tyson had knocked him unconsciously. He stumbled as he walked, but somehow he had found his way from the shore, and along the way, he'd picked up a sword, and shield. "Mitch, hail!" Octavian shrieked quickly. "Excellent! Guard me while I'm firing this onager. Then we will kill this Grace together." Mitchell K.Howe took in the scene, his boss robes tangled in the trigger rope, Octavian's jewelry fuming from proximity to the Imperial gold ammunition. He glanced up at the dragon now high in the air, surrounded by rings of storm clouds, like the circles of an archery target. Then he scowled at Niko. Niko readied his own sword. Surely Mitchell K.Howe would warn his leader to step away from the onager. Surely he would attack. "Are you certain?" Octavian asked the son of Venus. "Yes, I'm absolutely certain." "Yes, you fool! I will be remembered as the saviour of Rome. Now keep them away while I destroy Gaia." "Octavian, don't," Will pleaded. "We can't allow you." "Will," Niko said, "we can't stop him." Soleil stared at him in disbelief, Niko remembered his father's words in the Chapel of Bones. Some death cannot be prevented. That's right, son of Pluto. You are helpless to stop me. It is my destiny. K-House, stand guard. As you wish. Mitchell moved in front of the machine, interposing himself between Octavian and the two Greek demigods. Centurion, what do you want? Octavian to release the catch. A good friend to the last. Niko almost lost his nerve. If the angel really did fire true, if it's got a hit on Festus the dragon, and Niko allowed his friends to be hurt or killed, but he stayed where he was for once. He decided to trust the wisdom of his father. Some deaths should not be prevented. Goodbye, Gaia. Octavian yelled. Goodbye, Jason Grace the traitor. Octavian cut the release wire with his auger's knife, and he disappeared. The catapult arm sprang upward faster than Niko's eyes could follow, launching Octavian along with the ammunition. The auger scream faded until he was simply part of the fiery comet soaring skyward. Goodbye, Octavian, Mitchell K-House said. He glared at Will and Niko one last time as if daring them to speak. Then he turned his back and trudged away. Niko could have lived with Octavian's end. He might even have said good riddance. But his heart sank as the comet kept gaining altitude. It disappeared into the storm clouds, and the sky exploded in a dome of fire. Right, we're going to finish the book, I hope. Just another 32 more pages. 42 more pages, I mean. Sorry, everybody. We're not going to finish it. Just 32 pages left, and we've only read 18. We're not going to finish this, are we? But let's finish it. I don't care if we're going to go more than an hour. I don't care. Let's finish this. Chapter 54, Niko. The next day, there weren't many answers. After the explosion, Piper and Jason free falling and unconscious were plucked out of the sky by giant eagles and brought to safety, but Leo did not reappear. The entire Hephaestus cabin scoured the added valley, finding bits and pieces of the Argo II's broken hull, but no sign of Festus the dragon or his master. All the monsters had been destroyed or scattered. Greek and Roman qualities ties were heavy, but not nearly as bad as they might have been. Overnight, the satyrs and nymphs disappeared into the woods for convocation of the Cloven elders. In the morning, Grover Underwood reappeared to announce that they could not sense the Earth Mother. Nature was more or less back to normal. Apparently, Jason, Piper, and Leo's plan had worked. Gaia had been separated from her source of power, charmed to sleep, and then atomized into the combined explosion of Leo's fire, Octavian's man-made comet, and immortal could never die. But now Gaia would be like her husband, Uranus. The Earth would continue to function. The Earth would continue to function. The Earth would continue to function as normal, just as guided, but Gaia was now so dispersed and powerless that she could never again form a consciousness. At least that was the hope. Octavian would be remembered for saving Rome by hurling himself into the sky in a fiery ball of death. It was Leo Volix who had made the real sacrifice. The victory celebration at camp was muted due to grief. Not just for Leo, but also for the many, not just for Leo, but also for the many others who had died in battle. Shrouded demigods, both Greek and Roman, were burned at the campfire, and Chiron asked Niko to oversee the burial of rioters. Niko agreed immediately. He was grateful for the opportunity to honor the dead. Even the hundreds of spectators didn't bother him. The hardest part afterwards when Niko and six demigods from the Argo II met on the porch of the big house. Jason hung his head. Even his glasses lost in the shadow. We should have been at the end. We could have helped Leo. It's not right, Piper agreed, wiping away her tears. All out work, getting the Physicians cure for nothing. Hazel broke down crying. Piper, where's the cure? Bring it out. Bewildered, Piper reached into her belt pouch. She produced the canvas cloth package. When she unfolded the cloth, it was empty. All eyes turned to Hazel. How? Annabeth said. Annabeth asked. Frank put his arm round Hazel. In Delos, Leo pulled the two of us aside. He pleaded with us to help him. Through her tears, Hazel explained how she had switched the Physicians cure for an illusion, a trick of the mist, so that Leo could keep the real vial. Frank told him about Leo's plan to destroy a weakened gale with one massive fire explosion. After talking with Niko and Apollo, he had been certain that such an explosion would kill any mortal within a quarter of a mile, so he knew he would have to get far away from everyone. He wanted to do it alone, Frank said. He thought there would be a slim chance that he, a son of Hephaestus, could survive the fire, but if anyone was with him, he said that Hazel and I, being Roman, would understand about sacrifice, but he knew the rest of you would never allow it. And first the others looked angry. They wanted to scream and throw things, but as Frank Hazel talked, the group's rage seemed to dissipate. It was hard to be mad at Frank and Hazel when they were both crying. Also, the plan sounded exactly like the sneaky, twisted, ridiculously annoying and noble sort of Leo Voldex would do. Finally, Piper let out a sound somewhere between a sob and a laugh. If he were right here, right now, I would kill him. How was he planning to take that? How was he planning to take the cure? That cure. He was alone. Why would he even take that cure? Even I would think it's a little silly, though. Though I am not the author. Not J.K. Rowling. I'm thinking of J.K. Rowling from the Harry Potter books. Rick Riordan, I think. It's only the author, Rick Riordan, knows this answer. Well, let's go on. How was he planning to take his cure? He was alone. Maybe he found a way, Percy said. This is Leo we're talking about. He might come back any minute. Then we can take turns strangling him. Niko and Hazel exchanged look. They both knew better. They said nothing. The next day, the second since battle, Romans and Greeks worked side by side to clean out the war zone and tend the wounded. Blackjack the Pegasus was recovering nicely from his arrow wound. Guido had decided to adopt Raina as his human. Regularly, Lou Ellen had agreed to turn her new piglets back into Romans. Will Solis hadn't spoken with Niko since the encounter at the Onager. The son of Apollo spent most of his time in Firmary, but whenever Niko saw him running across town to fetch more medical supplies or make a house call on some wounded demigod, he felt a strange twinge of melancholy. No doubt Will Solis thought Niko was a monster now for letting Octavian kill himself. The Romans bivouacked next to the strawberry fields, where they insisted on building their standard field camp. The Greeks pitched in to help them raise the earthen walls and dig the trenches. Now I had never seen anything stranger or cooler. Dakota shared cooler aid with the kids from Dionysus cabin. The children of Hermes and Mercury laughed and told stories and brazenly told things from just about everyone. Raina, Annabeth and Piper were inseparable, roaming to the camp as they tried to track the progress of the repairs. Chiron escorted Franca and Hazel inspected the Roman troops and praised them for their bravery. By the evening, the general mood had improved somewhat. The dining hall pavilion had never been so crowded. The Romans were welcomed like old friends. Coach Hedge roamed among the demigods beaming and holding his baby boy and saying, "Hey, you want to meet Chuck? This is my boy, Chuck." The Aphrodite and Athena girls alike cooed over the feisty little sappy baby and waved his pudgy fists, kicking his tiny hoofs, and bleated, "Bah, bah." Clarice, who had been named the baby's godmother, trailed behind the coach like a bodyguard and occasionally muttered, all right, give the kids some space." At announcement time, Tyrion stepped forward and raised his goblet. "Out of tragedy, he said, comes new strength. Today we thank the gods for this victory. To the gods!" With enthusiasm seemed muttered. Both understood the feeling. We saved the gods again, and now we're supposed to thank them. Then Tyrion said, "And to new friends, to new friends." Hundreds of demigods' voices echoed across the hills. At the campfire, everyone kept looking at stars, as if they expected Leo to come back in some dramatic last-minute surprise. Maybe he swooped in, jump off Festus's back, and launch into corny jokes. It didn't happen. After a few songs, Raina and Frank were called to the front. They got a thunderous round of applause from both the Greeks and Romans. Up on Half-Blood Hill, the Athena partners glowed more brightly in the moonlight, as if to signal, "These kids are all right." "Tomorrow," Raina said, "we Romans must return home. We appreciate your hospitality, especially since we almost killed you. You almost killed us." And Beth corrected, Whatever, Chase. "Oh," the crowd said at one. And then everybody started laughing and pushing each other around. Even Niko had to smile. "Anyway," Frank took over, "Raina and I agreed this marks a new era of friendship between the camps." Raina clapped him on the back. "That's right. For hundreds of years, the gods tried to separate us to keep us from fighting. But there's a better kind of peace. Cooperation." Piper stood up from the audience. "Are you sure your mum is a war goddess?" "Yes, McQueen," Raina said. "I still intend to fight a lot of battles. From now on, we fight together." That got a great big cheer. Zhang raised his hand for quiet. "You'll all be welcomed at Camp Jupiter. We've got to an agreement with Chiron, a free exchange between the camps. We can visit training programs and, of course, emergency aid in times of need." "And parties?" asked Dakota. "Here," said Connor Stoll. Raina spread her arms. "That goes without saying. We Romans invented parties." Another big "Oh!" "So thank you," Raina concluded. "All of you. We could have chosen hatred and war. Instead, we found acceptance and friendship." Then she did something so unexpected. Niko would later think he dreamed it. She walked up to Niko, who was standing to one side, as usual, to one side in the shadows, as usual. She grabbed his hand and pulled him gently into the firelight. "We had one home," she said. "Now we have two." She gave Niko a big hug, and the crowd roared with approval. Once Niko didn't feel like pulling away. He buried his face in Raina's shoulder and blinked the tears out of his eyes. Chapter 55, Niko. That night, Niko slept in the Hades cabin. He never had any desire to use the place before, but now he shared it with Hazel, which made all the difference. It made him happy to live with his sister again, even if it was only for a few days. And even Hazel insisted on partitioning her side of the room with sheets for privacy, so it looked like a quarantine zone. Just before curfew, Frank came to visit and spent a few minutes talking with Hazel in the hushed tones. Niko tried to ignore them. He stretched out in his bunk, which reassembled a coffin. A polished mahogany frame, brass railings, blood-red velvet pillows, and blankets. Niko hadn't not suggested these bunks. Apparently somebody thought the children of Hades were vampires, not demigods. Finally, Frank knocked on the wall next to Niko's bed. Niko looked over. Zhang stood so tall now he seemed so Roman. Hey, Frank said. We'll be leaving in the morning. Just wanted to tell you thanks. Niko sat up in his bunk. You did great, Frank. It's been an honor. Frank smiled. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised. I lived through it. The whole magic firewood thing. Niko nodded. Hazel had told him about a piece of firewood that controlled Frank's lifetime. Niko took it as a good sign that Frank could talk about it openly now. I can't see the future, Niko told him, but I can often tell when people are close to the death. You're not. I don't know when that piece of firewood will burn up. Eventually we all run out of firewood, but it won't be soon, Creator Zhang. You and Hazel got a lot more adventures ahead of you. You're just getting started. Be good to my sister, okay? Hazel walked up next to Frank and laced her hand with his. Niko, you're not threatening my boyfriend, are you? Frank, Niko, you're not threatening my boyfriend, are you? The two of them looked so comfortable together. It made Niko glad, but it also caused an ache in his heart, a ghostly pain like an old war wound throbbing. In bad weather. No need for threats, Niko said. Frank's a good guy, or bear, or bully, or bear, or bulldog, or... Oh, stop, Hazel laughed. Then she kissed Frank. See you in the morning. Yeah, Frank said. Niko, you sure you won't come with us? You'll always have a place in your own. Thanks, Praetor. Thanks, Praetor. Raina said the same thing. But no, hope I'll see you again. Oh, you will, Niko promised. I'm going to be the flower boy at your wedding, right? Frank got flustered, cleared his voice and shuffled off, running into the door, jab on the way out. Hazel crossed her arms. You just had to tease him about that. She sat on Niko's bunk. For a while, they just stayed there in comfortable silence. Siblings, children from the past, children of the underworld. I'm going to miss you, Niko said. Hazel leaned over and rested her head on his shoulder. You too, big brother. You will visit. He tapped the new officer's badge that gleamed on her shirt. Centurion of the 5th cohort now. Congratulations. Are there rules against centurions dating praetors? Shh, Hazel said. It'll be a lot of work getting the Legion back in shape. Repairing the damage Octavian did. Dating regulations will be the least of my worries. You've come so far. You're not the same girl I brought to Camp Jupiter. Your power with the mist. Your confidence, girl. It's all thanks to you. No, Niko said. Getting a second life is one thing. Making it a better life, that's the trick. As soon as he said it, Niko realized he could have been talking about himself. And he decided not to bring that up. Hazel sighed. A second life. I just wish she didn't need to finish her thought. For the past 2 days, Neo's disappearance had hovered like a cloud over the whole camp. Hazel and Niko had been reluctant to join the speculation about what had happened to him. You felt his death, didn't you? Hazel's eyes were watery. Her voice was small. Yeah, Niko admitted. But I don't know, Hazel. Something about it was different. He couldn't have taken the physical cure. Nothing could have survived that explosion. I thought I was helping Leo. I messed up. No, it's not your fault. But Niko wasn't so ready to forgive himself. He spent the last 48 hours replaying the scene with Octavian at the catapult, wondering if he'd done the wrong thing. Perhaps the explosive power of that projectile had helped destroy Gaia. Or perhaps it had just unnecessarily cost Leo Voldix's life. I just wish he hadn't died alone, Hazel murmured. There was nobody with him. No one to give him the cure. There's not even a body to bury. Her voice broke. Niko put his arm around her. He held her as she wept. Eventually she fell asleep from exhaustion. Niko tucked her into her own bed and kissed her forehead. Then he went to the shrine of Hades in the corner, a little table decorated with bones and jewels. I suppose, he said, there's a first time for everything. He knelt and prayed silently for his father's guidance. We're going to finish it. Just 19 pages. No way we're going to finish this. Okay, chapter 56. Wait, what? Chapter 56. Niko. At dawn, he was still awake when somebody rapped at the door. He turned, registering a face with blonde hair. For a split second, he thought it was Will Solis. When Niko realized it was Jason, he was disappointed. Then he felt angry with himself for feeling that way. He hadn't talked to Will since the battle. The Apollo kids had been too busy with the injury. Besides, Will probably blamed Niko for what happened to Octavian. Why wouldn't he? Niko had basically permitted whatever was now murder. Whatever was murder by consensus, a gruesome suicide. But now Will Solis realized how creepy and revolting Niko the Anglo was. Of course, Niko didn't care what he thought, but still. You okay? Jason said. Fine, Niko said. Then he softened his tone. If you're looking for Hazel, she's still asleep. Jason mouthed. Oh. And gestured for Niko to come outside. Niko stepped into the sunlight, blinking and disoriented. Perhaps the cabin designers had been right about the children of Hades being like vampires. He was not a morning person. Jason didn't look as though he'd slept any better. His hair had a cloud lick on one side, and his new glasses sat crookedly on his nose. Niko resisted the urge to reach out and straighten them. Jason pointed to the strawberry field where the Romans were breaking camp. It was strange to see them here. Now it'll be strange not seeing them here. Do you not regret not going with them? Niko asked. Jason's smile was lopsided. A little, but I'll be going back and forth between the camps a lot. I have some shrines to build. I heard the Senate plans to elect you Pontifex Maximus. Jason shrugged. I don't care about the title so much. I do care about making sure the gods are remembered. I don't want them fighting out of jealousy anymore, or taking out their frustration on demigods. They're gods, Niko said. They're for nature. Maybe, but I can try to make it better. I guess like Leo would say I'm acting like a mechanic doing preventative maintenance. Niko sensed Jason's sorrow like an oncoming storm. You know, you couldn't have stopped Leo. There was nothing you could have done differently. He knew what had to happen. I guess I don't suppose you can tell if he's gone. Niko said, I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you otherwise, but I sensed his death. Jason stared into the distance. Niko felt guilty for squashing his hopes. He almost tempted to mention his own doubts. What a different sensation Leo's death had given him. As if Leo's soul had invented his own way into the underworld. Something that involved lots of gears, levers and steam-powered pistons. Nevertheless, Niko wasn't sure Leo Voldix had died, and death was death. It wouldn't be fair to give Jason false expectations. In the distance, the Romans were picking up their gear and trotting it across the hill. On the other side, so Niko had heard a fleet of black selves waited to be transported the Legion cross country back to California. Niko guessed that would be an interesting road trip. He imagined the entire 12th Legion in the drive through lane at Burger King. I like burgers, they're tasty. Burgers are very tasty. Lane at Burger King. That's the type of food. I like burgers, He imagines, and I think you like some too. He imagines some hapless monsters terrorizing. I think you like burgers too. Burgers, they're delicious. Trust me, if you haven't tried them, try it. He imagines some hapless monster terrorizing a random demigod in Kansas, only to find himself surrounded by several dozen carloads of heavily armored Romans. Eleanor Harpy is going with them, Jason said. She and Tyson, even Rachel Elizabeth's there. They're going to work together to try to reconstruct the Sibylline books. That should be interesting. Could take years, Jason said, but with the voice of Delphi extinguished, Jason still can't see the future. Jason shook his head. I wish I knew what happened to Apollo in Athens. Maybe Artemis will get him out of trouble with Jesus, and the power of the prophecy will work again. But for now, those Sibylline books might be our only way to get guidance for quests. Personally, Niko said, I could do without prophecies or quest for a while. You've got a point. He straightened his glasses. Look, Niko, the reason I wanted to talk to you, I know what you said back at Auster's Palace. I know you were already turned down about a place at Camp Jupiter. I probably can't change your mind about leaving Camp Harford, but I have to. I'm staying. Jason blinked. What? At Camp Harford, the Hades cabin needs a head counselor. Have you seen the decor? It's disgusting. I'll have to renovate, and somebody needs to do the burial rites properly, since demigods insist on dying heroically. That's fantastic, dude! Jason opened his arms for a hug, then froze. Right, no touching, sorry. Niko grunted. I suppose we can make an exception. Jason squeezed so hard Niko thought his ribs would crack. Oh, man, wait till I tell Piper. Hey, since I'm all alone in my cabin too, you and I could share a table in the dining hall. We can team up for Capture the Flag and sing along contests. And are you trying to scare me away? Sorry, whatever you say, Niko. I'm just glad. The funny thing was, Niko believed him. Niko happened to glance towards the cabins and saw someone waving at him. Will Soleil stood in the doorway of the Apollo cabin, a stern look on his face. He pointed to the ground at his feet like, "You, here, now." "Jason," Niko said, "what do you excuse me?" "So where were you?" Will demanded. He was wearing a green surgeon shirt with jeans and flip-flops, which is probably not standard hospital protocol. "What do you mean?" Niko asked. "I've been stuck in infirmary for like 2 days. You don't come by. You don't offer to help." I what? Why would you want a son of Hades in the same room with people trying to heal? Why would anyone want that? You can't help out a friend. Maybe cut bandages, bring me a soda or a snack, or just simple how it's going, Will. You don't think I could stand to see a friendly face? What? My face? The words simply didn't make sense together. Friendly face, Niko D'Angelo. "You're so dense," Will noted. "I hope you get over that nonsense about leaving Camp Half-Blood." "Yeah, I did. I mean, I'm staying." "Good, so you may be dense, but you're not an idiot." "How could you even talk to me like that? Don't you know I can summon zombies and skeletons and..." "Right now you couldn't summon a wishbone without melting into a puddle of darkness," D'Angelo, Will said. "I told you, no more underworldy stuff. Doctor's orders. You owe me at least 3 days of rest in the infirmary. Starting now." Niko felt like 100 skeletal butterflies were resurrecting in his stomach. 3 days? I suppose that will be okay. Good now. A loud whoop cut through the air. Over by the heart in the center of the common. Percy was grinning at something Annabeth had just told him. Annabeth laughed playfully and slapped his arm like this. Like this. Let me just slap my own arm. Or like this. I'll be right back, Niko told Will. Promise on the spikes and everything. He walked over to Percy and Annabeth, who were both still grinning like crazy. Hey man, Percy said. Annabeth just told me some good news. Sorry if I got a little loud. We're going to spend our senior year together. Annabeth explained, here in New York, and after graduation, college in New Rome. Percy pummeled his fist like he was a blowing truck horn. 4 years with no monsters, no fight, no battles, no stupid prophecies. Just me and Annabeth getting out of Greece, hanging out at the cafes, enjoying California, and after that, Annabeth kissed Percy on the cheek. Well, Raina and Frank said we could live in New Rome as long as we like. That's great, Niko said. He was a little surprised to find out he meant it. I'm staying too, here at Camp Half-Blood. Awesome, Percy said. I told you no more underworldly stuff. Doctor's orders. You owe me. Awesome, Percy said. Niko studied his face, his seeing green eyes, his grin, his ruffled black hair. Somehow Percy Jackson seemed like a regular guy, not a mythical figure, not someone to idolize or crush on. So, Niko said, since we're going to be spending at least a year seeing each other at camp, I think I should clear the air. Percy's smile wavered. What do you mean? For a long time, Niko said. I had a question for you. I just wanted to know. Percy looked at Niko. Then at Annabeth as if to check that he'd heard correctly. Then back at Niko. You? Yeah, Niko said. You're a great person, but I'm over that. I'm happy for you guys. You, so you mean right. Annabeth, where I started to sparkle. She gave Niko a sideways smile. Wait, Percy said, so you mean right, Niko said again. But it's cool, we're cool. I see you now. You're cute, but not my type. But you're not my type. I'm not your type. Wait, so see you around, Percy. Niko said, Annabeth. Niko said, Annabeth. She raised her hand for a high five. Niko obliged, and he walked back across the green to where Will Soylace was waiting. Let's try and finish this video quickly. Okay, bye. Chapter 57, Piper wished she could charm herself to sleep. It may have worked on Gail, but for the last 2 nights she'd hardly slept a wink. The days were fine. She loved being back with her friends, Lacey and Mitchell, and actually I'm just going to read slowly. And Mitchell and all the other prototype kids. Even her bratty second in command, Drew Tannock, seemed relieved, probably because Piper could find things and give Drew more time for gossip and in-cabin beauty treatments. Piper kept busy helping Raina and Annabeth coordinate between the Greeks and Romans. So Piper surprised the other two girls. The other two girls value her skills as a go-between to smooth girls. Any girls value her skills as a go-between to smooth any conflict. There weren't many, but Piper did manage to return some Roman helmets that mysteriously made their way into the camp store. She also kept the fight breaking about between the children of Mars and the children of Eris over the best way to kill a Hydra. On the morning the Romans were scheduled to leave, Piper was sitting on a pier at the canoe neck trying to placate the naiads. Some of the lake spirits thought the Roman guys were so hot that they too wanted to leave for Camp Jupiter. They were demanding a giant portable fish tank for the journey west. Piper had concluded negotiations when Raina found her. The operator sat next to her on the dock. Hard work. Piper blew a strand of hair out of her eyes. Nowadays can be challenging. I think we have a deal. If they still wanted to go at the end of the summer, we'll work out the details then. But nowadays, they tend to forget things in about 5 seconds. Raina traced her fingertips across the water. Sometimes I wish I forget things that quickly. Piper started to praise his face. Raina was one demigod who hadn't seemed to change during the war with the giants. At least not on the outside. She still had the same strong, unstoppable gaze, the same regal, beautiful face that she wore her armour and purple cloak as easily as most people who would wear shorts and a t-shirt. Piper couldn't understand how anybody could take so much pain, shoulder so much responsibility without breaking. She wondered if Raina ever had conflict to confide in. You did so much, Piper said. For both camps, without you, none of it would be impossible. All of us played our part, sure, but you, I wish you got more credit. Raina laughed gently. Thank you, Piper. I don't want attention. You understand what it's like, don't you? Piper did. They were so different, but she understood not wanting to attract attention. Piper wished for that her whole life with her dad's fame. The Pararisa, the photos and the scandal stories in the press. She met so many people who said, I want to be famous, that would be so great. But they had no idea what it was really like. She'd seen the toll it took on her father. Piper wanted nothing to do with it. She could understand the appeal of Rome way too. The blending wanty, work as a part of well-oiled machine. Even so, Raina had risen to the top. You couldn't stay hidden. You're powerful, your mum, Raina said. You can lend strength to others. Raina pursed her lips. Niko told you. No, I just sensed it. Watching you lead the legion. They must train you. How do you know? Get that strength. How do you know? Get that strength back. When I get the strength back, I'll let you know. She said like a joke, but Piper sensed the sadness behind her words. You're always welcome here, Piper said. If you need to take a break, just get away. You've got Frank now. You can assume more responsibility for a while. It might do you good. Make some time for you so when nobody's going to be looking at you as praetor. I never met her eyes. I was trying to gauge her how serious the offer was. Would I be expected to sing that odd song about how Grandma puts on her armour? Not unless you really want to. But we might have to ban you from capture the flag. I feel that you could go against the entire camp solo and still beat us. Raina smirked. I consider the offer. I consider the offer. Thank you. She adjusted her dagger, and for a moment Piper thought about her own blade, Catoprachus, which was now locked in her hope chest. In her cabin. Not as in chest, as in a human body chest. As in chest, as in treasure chest. In her cabin. Ever since Athens, when she'd used the blade to stab the giant Enceladus, its visions had stopped completely. Raina said, You're a child of Venus, a Aphrodite. Perhaps you could explain something your mother had said. I'm honoured. I'll try, but I have to warn you. My mum doesn't make sense to me a lot of the time. Once in Charleston, Venus told me something. She said, You will not find loss where you wish or where you hope. The demigod shall heal your heart. I have struggled with that for her words broke by a strong urge to find her mother and punch her. He hated how Aphrodite could mess up someone's life with just a short conversation. Raina, she said. Don't know what she meant, but I do know this for you. You're an incredible person. Maybe there is someone out there for you. Maybe it's not a demigod, but it's immortal, or I don't know. But when it's meant to happen, it will until it does. Hey, you have friends. Lots of friends, both Greek and Roman. The thing is about you being everyone's source of strength. Sometimes you might forget that you need to draw strength from others. I'm here for you. Raina stared across the lake. Piper McLean, you have a way with words. I'm not charm speaking. I promise. A feeling we'll see each other again. They shook, and after Raina left, Raina left, Piper knew that Raina was right. They would meet again, because Raina was no longer a rival, no longer a stranger or a potential enemy. She was a friend. She was a family. That night the camp felt empty without Romans, and Piper already missed Hazel. She missed the creaking timbers of Argo 2 and the constellations her lamp used to make against the ceiling of her cabin aboard the ship. Lying in her bunking cabin tent, she felt so restless. She knew she wouldn't be able to doze off. She kept thinking about Leo. Again and again. Again she replayed what happened in the fight against Gaia. Trying to figure out why. Again and again. Again she replayed what happened in the fight against Gaia. Trying to figure out why she had failed Leo so badly. Around 2 a.m, she gave up trying to sleep. She sat up in the bed and gazed out of the window. Moonlight turned the woods to silver. The smells of the sea and the strawberry fields wafted on the breeze. You couldn't believe that just a few days ago the Earth Mother had awoken and it almost destroyed everything. Piper held the deer. Tonight seemed so peaceful, so normal. Tap, tap, tap. Piper nearly hit the top of her bunk. Jason was standing outside the window rapping on the frame. He grinned. Come on. What are you doing here? He whispered. It's after curfew. The patrol harpies will shred you. Just come on. Her heart racing, she took his hand and climbed out of the window. He led her to cabin 1 and took her inside, where the huge statue of Hippie Jesus glowed in the dim light. Jason, what exactly? Check it out. He showed her one of the marble columns that ringed the circular chamber. On the back, almost hidden against the wall, iron rungs led upward. A ladder. Can't believe I didn't notice this sooner. Wait till you see. He began to climb. I wasn't sure why she felt so nervous, but her hands were shaken. She followed him up. And up, Jason pushed open a small trap door. They emerged on the side of the domed roof on the flat ledge facing north. The whole of Long Island Sound spread out to the horizon. They were so far up and at such an angle that nobody below could possibly see them. The patrol harpies never flew this high. Look, Jason pointed at the stars, which made a splash of diamonds across the sky. Better jewels than even Hazel Lerescu could have summoned. Beautiful. Piper snuggled up against Jason, and he put his arm around her. But aren't you going to get in trouble? Who cares? Jason asked. Piper laughed quietly. Who are you? He turned, his glasses pale bronze in starlight. Jason Grace, pleased to meet you. He kissed her again and again. And okay, they had kissed before, but this was different. Piper felt like a toaster. All her coils heated to red-hot animal warmth, and she'd start smelling like burnt toast. Jason pulled away enough to look in her eyes. That night at the wilderness school, our first kiss under the stars. The memory, Piper said. The one that never happened. Well, now it's real. He made the ward against evil symbol, the same one he'd used to dispel his mother's ghost, and he pushed at the sky. From this point on, we're writing our own story with a fresh start, and we just had our first kiss. I'm afraid to tell you this after just one kiss, Piper said. But goddess of Olympus, I love you. Love you too, Pipes. She didn't want to ruin the moment, but she couldn't stop thinking of Leo and how he would never have a fresh start. Hey, he said, Leo is okay. How can you believe that? He didn't get the cure. Niko said he died. You once woke up a dragon with just your voice, Jason reminded him. You believe the dragon should be alive, right? Yes, we have to believe in Niko. There is no way he would die so easily. He's a tough guy. Right, Piper tried to steady her heart. So we believe Leo has to be alive. You remember the time in Detroit when he flattened my gasket with a car engine? Or those dwarfs in Bologna. Leo took them down with a homemade smoke grenade made from toothpaste. Commander Toolbell, Jason said. Bad boy supreme, that paper said. Chef Leo, the tofu taco expert. They laughed and told stories about Leo Vortex, their best friend. They stayed on the roof until dawn broke, and Piper started to believe they could have a fresh start. It might be impossible to tell a new story in which Leo was still out there somewhere. Right, last 6 pages. Let's do this. Chapter 58. Leo? Huh? Well, I don't think Leo's dead anymore by reading this. Leo was dead. He knew that he was absolute certainty. He just didn't understand why it hurt so much. He felt like every cell in his body had exploded. Now his consciousness was trapped inside a charred, crispy husk of demigod roadkill. The nausea was worse than any cast sickness he'd ever had. He couldn't move, he couldn't see or hear. He could only feel pain. He started to panic, thinking maybe this was his internal punishment. Then somebody put jumper cables on his brain and restarted his life. He gasped and sat up. First thing he felt was the wind in his face, then a searing pain in his right arm. He was still on Festus's back, still in the air. His eyes started to work again, and he noticed a large hypodermic needle retracted from his forearm. The empty injector buzzed, wired and retreated into a panel of Festus's neck. Thanks, buddy, Leo groaned. Man, being dead sucked. But that physically insecure, that stuff is worse. Festus clicked and chatted in Morse code. No, man, I'm not serious. I'm glad to be alive. And yeah, I love you too. You did awesome. A metallic purr ran the length of the dragon's body. First things first, Leo scanned the dragon for signs of damage. Festus's wings were working properly through his. Left medius membranous was shot full of holes. His neck's plating was particularly fused, melting from the explosion, but the dragon didn't seem to be in danger of crashing immediately. He tried to remember what had happened. He was pretty sure he had defeated Gaia, but he had no idea how his friends were doing back at Camp Half-Blood. Hopefully Jason and Piper got the clear of the blast. He had a weird memory of missile? A weird memory of a missile. Of a missile hurtling towards him and screaming like a little girl. What the heck had that been about? Once he landed, he had to check Festus's underbelly. The most serious damage would probably be in that area, where the dragon had courageously grappled with Gaia while they blowtorched the sludge out of her. There was no telling how long Festus had been aloft. He needed to sit down soon, which raised the question. Where were we? Where were they? Below was a solid white blanket of clouds. The sun shone directly overhead in a brilliant blue sky. So it was about noon, but of which day? How long had Leo been dead? He opened the access panel in Festus's neck. The astrolabe was humming away, the crystal pulsing like a neon heart. Leo checked his compass and GPS, and a grin spread across his face. Festus, good news, he shouted. Our navigation readings are completely messed up. Festus said, creak, creak. Yeah, descend. Get us below these clouds and maybe... The dragon plummeted so fast that the breath was sucked out of Leo's lungs. They broke through the blanket of white, and there below them was a single green island in a vast blue sea. Leo whooped so loudly that they probably heard him in China. Yeah, who died? Who came back? Who's your freaking supersized shizzle now, baby? Woo! They spiraled towards Ojija, the warm wind in Leo's hair. He realized his clothes were in tatters, despite the magic they'd been woven with. His arms were covered in a fine layer of soot, like he'd just died in a massive fire, which of course he had. But he couldn't worry about any of that. She was standing on the beach, wearing jeans and a white blouse, her amber hair pulled back. Festus spread his wings and landed with a stumble. Apparently one of the legs were broken. The dragon pitched sideways and catapulted Leo face first into the sand. So much for heroic entrance. Leo spat a piece of seaweed off his mouth. Festus dragged himself down the beach, making a clacking noise. That meant ow, ow, ow. Leo looked up. Calypso stood over him, her arms crossed, her eyebrows arched. "You're late," she announced. Her eyes gleamed. "Sorry, sunshine," Leo said. "Traffic was murder. You were covered with soot," she noted. "And you managed to ruin the clothes I made for you, which were impossible to ruin." "Well, you know," Leo shrugged. Somebody had released 100 panic code balls in his chest. "I'm all about doing the impossible." She offered her hand and helped him up. They stood nose to nose as she studied his condition. She smelled like cinnamon, and she always had that tiny freckle next to her left eye. Leah really wanted to touch it. She wrinkled her nose. "You smell," "I know, like I've been dead, probably because I have been. Oh, sticky with the final breath and all. But I'm better now." She stopped him with a kiss. The Pacino balls slammed around him inside. He felt so happy he had to make a conscious effort not to burst into flames. When she finally let him go, her faces were covered in soot smudges. She didn't seem to care. She traced her thumb across his cheekbone. "Leo Voldex," she said. "Nothing else, just the same as if it was something magical." "That's me," he said, his voice ragged. "So, you want to get off this island?" Calypso stepped back. She raised one hand and the wind swirled. Her invisible servants brought 2 suitcases and set them at her feet. "What gave you that idea?" Leo grinned. "Packed for a long trip, huh?" "I don't plan on coming back." Calypso glanced over her shoulder at the path that led into her garden and her cabin home. Where will you take me, Leo?" "Somewhere to fix my dragon first," he decided. "And then wherever you want." "How was I long gone?" "Seriously, time is difficult on Ogygia, Calypso. It felt like forever." Leo had a stab of a doubt. He hoped his friends were okay. He hoped 100 years hadn't passed while he was flying around dead. And Festus searched for Ogygia. He wouldn't have to find out. He needed to let Jason and Piper and the others know that he was okay. But right now, priorities. Calypso was a priority. "So once you leave Ogygia," he said, "do you stay immortal or what?" "I have no idea." "And you're okay with that?" "More than okay." "Well then," he turned towards his dragon. "Buddy, you up for another flight to nowhere in particular?" Festus blew fire and limped around. Last page of the Percy Jackson series, guys. And last few lines too. "So we take off with no plan," Calypso said. "No idea where we'll go, what problems await beyond this island. Many questions and no tidy answers." Leo turned up his palms. "That's how I fly, sunshine. Can I get your bags?" "Absolutely." 5 minutes later, with Calypso's arms round his waist, Leo spurred Festus into flight. The bronze dragon spread his wings and they soared into the unknown. Okay, everybody, that'll be the end of me reading you the Percy Jackson series. So bye-bye, everyone, and thank you for listening to the end of me reading the book. Bye, everyone, and thanks for listening to this.